What's good people? It is your Commissioner Brennan, Brennon, here with another episode of the Ray Review. The Ray Review. Retroactive Yellow participants, thank you all for your participation. Thank you all for your activity on the wire and trades and the draft, in the chat, everything that you've done to make the league enjoyable. Hopefully it has been such. If you haven't been participating, shame on you. But also, I know things happen in life. So hopefully you hop in the chat a little bit more, see what's going on, contribute, and overall just enjoy the time. Try and make it as enjoyable as possible, but it can only be such if everybody contributes. I can't just do it by myself. So all that being said, I'm going to hop right into the scores for the week 5 matchups for 2024. As you can see, I have a very frustrating matchup to touch on first. It is my own. Your commissioner took a very crushing L to a very good owner, somebody who's shown a lot of promise in multiple retroactive leagues. I think he has a winning record in all 3 leagues this season so far. So it's not about who I lost to, it's the manner in which I lost. Before I get into all the detail, the Phoenix did not rise this week, losing a 2-point affair to Phenomenal One, aka Harrison Decker, 254.58 to 252.08. Very frustrating type of loss. If you've ever heard me speak on my lives before or in person, you know how I feel about close losses that come down to the final minute, final second. I'd much rather get blown out. I'd much rather the game not be close, and there's no room for hope. There's no room for doubt. There's no room for concern or consideration. It's obvious and apparent that I'm going to lose versus losing in this manner. This is the worst way to lose. Hashtag worst way to lose. Harrison is a Chiefs fan. I'm a Raiders fan. That's number 1. And then number 2, the Chiefs played Monday nights. Harrison had this fella going crazy, who I have in Retroactive Navy. So I was simultaneously rooting for him and rooting against him. He helped me get the win in Navy against Harrison, ironically. But unfortunately, he also helped me get the loss in yellow. I thought I was going to have enough holding up on my end. I think I had some other guys playing Monday night. Alontae Taylor gave me 15 points for New Orleans. I also had... that was my only guy on Monday night. And he had multiple guys playing. He had Brian Cook get the pick on like the second drive of the game, which Brian Cook ain't did nothing all season. And then he had I don't know if it was a stat correction or a deflection on in the final minute, literally the final minute of the game. Derek Carr had already went out due to injury, and Jake Hayner was throwing passes. I think it was a 4th down play. He threw the pass close to out of bounds. Brian Cook deflects it, and that was the difference in the game. Up to that point, we were tied, like literally at the final score. The final of the game. But it came down to that. Justin Reed gave him a clutch 7. Every point mattered. Chris Jones was surprisingly quiet all night. He only gave Harrison 2.5. But yeah, Kareem Hunt, welcome back to Kansas City, bro. He had a great game, 20.2 points. And that was the difference in the matchup. A team I already hate, a bandwagon I had a chance to get on once the team in LA left St. Louis. I was a free agent of fandom, and I chose the Raiders. I could have chose the Chiefs. Mahomes wasn't there yet. But just goes to show how I make bad sports decisions. But I digress. Joey Burrow, monster of a game, 49.78 points. Garrett Wilson, Drake London, both 20-plus point performances. Great linebacker play from Harrison, all double digits. I won't say great, but solid. Solid linebacker play. Great defensive back play between Dante Jackson and Deonte Banks. Both got picks. or Deontay got a forced fumble, and Dante got a pick. And it was just enough, everything that he needed. My performances were a little more consistent across my team. TJ Watt tried to help me out with 26 points. Good linebacker play from Wilson and Spillane. See you later, Wilson. You served me well, but I had to do what I had to do. I got some stuff in the works. Appreciate your service for the Phoenix. You shall rise again somewhere else. Tank Bigsby got 31.4 points for me. Really keeping me in the game where I thought this was just going to be I hadn't mapped out the game being close, which is another reason I'm upset. I thought it was going to be an easy loss because I had so many people on bye. Saquon, Demario Davis. I didn't have him in the starting lineup. He wasn't on bye, but Diablo was hurt. Lad McConkey's on bye. McCaffrey, Greenlaw, both on IR. So I just chalked this up as an L. I didn't have enough. I didn't think I had enough juice. But I had enough guys step up to help. Just, again, worst way to lose. Didn't mean to do that. So kudos to you, Harrison, for your win. I think you are 3-2, correct? We're both first in our divisions. I lost my undefeated start to the season, but I really like my team. I got a really, really strong team. I said after all the drafts for all the retroactive leagues before the season started that Ray was going to be my best league. I felt like y'all just left a whole lot of stuff out there in the draft. And y'all continue to do it on the wire too, but I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to say too much. Let's get to this blowout over here, Game 5. Locked and loaded, a.k.a. Alina Wilson, got the easy win over Pac-Man 34, a.k.a. James Hopkins. I think that James Hopkins is waving the white flag looking at this score. I did not see the score prior to recording this video. And as I go through his lineup, no, he is not waving the white flag, but a lot of his players waved the white flag on Sunday. So did Ed Oliver play? He was out. So Ed Oliver was left in the lineup as inactive. Did Javon Holland play? Yeah, he got 11 points. Looks like everybody else got hurt. Willie Gay was ruled out. It doesn't look like any adjustments were made there. This is what I get from League Safe. Cool. Had a couple guys on bye. Makes sense as to why there may have been little flexibility between Jalen Hurts, Sam Laporta, Tony Pollard, all high-end contributors to the roster. Jack Gibbons definitely could have been dropped. So I was trying to give you some credit there, Pac-Man. Alex Highsmith could have been dropped or put into the IR. The IR slots are empty. So what I gather is Pac-Man has quit. And I'm finding that out in real time here. That kind of pisses me off. So cautionary tale to other owners, which is why I much prefer referrals and word of mouth invites as opposed to random public sources for joining leagues. You get an owner like this in your league, you got to deal with everything that comes with that. Not just the score, not just the lack of contribution in the chat, because I don't think he's been in the chat but maybe once since the draft or before. But then you have to deal with owners just basically abandoning their teams, saying, oh, well, I donated $25, no big deal. I'm not going to try too hard to really have a quality lineup. Now, granted, Eichenberg hurt, Clowney got hurt, Thibodeau got hurt. There's nothing you could do about that. But before you knew that was going to happen on Sunday, you knew Willie Gay was out. You knew that Ed Oliver was out. You didn't know Javon Holland, Thibodeau, Clowney, Eichenberg were going to get hurt in the game. You didn't know that. But you knew that those two were out. And you had 2 IR slots, which meant you could have done something, bro. could have done something. If you watch this, because you're probably not going to watch it. I really don't know you to really have no sympathy for you, or to be gentle with you. It just frustrates me to keep getting recycled shitty owners in the league. I'd much rather you not pay them. I don't want your money. Your money's not that good to where I want you in the league. I'd much rather you go away and be in your hole somewhere else. But anyway, not to spend too much time on him. Locked and loaded. Good score. Not great, but good. And a good win for you. Well deserved. Didn't have any real boom. Well, he had a couple booms. You had 27 from DJ Moore, 19 from Bobby Wagner, showing that he still got it. 27 from Trayvon Walker, a 3-sack game. I don't know how often that's going to happen going forward, being that Jacksonville is constantly playing even or from behind with their competition. But that's definitely the talent that he has. He showed that last year along with Josh Hines-Allen. I don't know why it's taking so long for everything to click for the Jaguars, because the talent is there. Eyes might need to go to Doug Peterson. I don't know. But very good score from him. And then you had some spotty double-digit scores from the rest of your defense. Harrison Butker gave you 15. Good score. Good score. Fortunate week to not have to put up crazy numbers. And you still got some guys on the bench that can step in spots and in your IR. So things are looking up for you. You're 2-3. You're staying out of the basement for sure. In the race to not race to relegation, but the race to exit, because some folks are getting kicked out, like the aforementioned. Going right along to brother AK Abe Corey, aka Falcoholics, with a tremendous score, a 334.26 versus the Blood Hunters, who I know that they're competitive. I know that they're present somewhat in the chat. But yeah, 0-5. Had a guy on bye where you could have put in Leo Chenal. Seems like he's pretty much quit as well. 100 ball for Abe. I appreciate your contributions. Now, as much as I got on League Safe for getting some of the owners in retroactive this season, this is a League Safe owner. So I know it's a crapshoot. And Abe, I appreciate your contributions in the chat, as sporadic as they are. I appreciate your attention to your roster, the moves you've made on the wire. You're showing to be a good owner. And with this score, this is a great score. This might be the high score in retroactive in some time, if it's not all time. I haven't seen a 330 something in a minute, if I can remember seeing it at all. Kirk Cousins led the way with 47. You also got 47 from Jamar Chase. Both of them had crazy games. Kirk Cousins swag surfing with the Falcon crowd at the end of the Thursday night game after the game winner. Jamar Chase just running through the Ravens defense like water. They did not look like the Ravens defense on Sunday that we know and grew up with. Darnell Mooney, 29 points, 2 touchdowns in the Falcons game. That's a good stack to have when they're on, especially as a Falcons fan. I know that's got to feel good. James Conner, 14. You got 334 points, and you had 3 offensive players not give you double-digit scores. I'm scared to see what the defense did. Wow. Where's the 300 coming from? I guess just from them 240s. Caden Ellis, Jordan Brooks, Jamie and Sherwood, all double-digit scores. 20 from Sherwood, 18, 19, 18, 15 from your DBs. And from Derek Hall, and it was, I didn't know what it was. Derek Hall, Jesse Bates, Jordan Thompson, Jalen Thompson, and Riley Moss and Nick Bolton. So, man, you had a really, really good score from your defense. You had great scores from your offense. I think those 3 almost 30-point plus scores is what really carried you to that 300. what's that? 80. That's a 94, 104, 114, 123. 123 points from 3 players. So if you take that down to 20 from Cousins, maybe a 15 to 20 for Chase, and like a 10 to 15 for Mooney, that's 55 points versus 123 points. So you take that away. I'm doing mental math in my head. It's about 70 points. You still would have had like a 250 or a 260, which would have still been a great score and would have won the game. But yeah, those 3 performances from those offensive guys really set you up there. Lamar Jackson, spoiled performance for the Blood Hunters, 41.42, aka Douglas Stewart. Nothing else from the offense. Bijan has been a disappointment to say the least. He should not be the 22nd ranked running back in fantasy or in the league, but that's how he's been performing. I think there's a usage issue for the Falcons, but hey, Kirk Cousins had how many passes? I don't think it's going to show me on the mobile app. Let me see. Kirk Cousins had, I think it was like 50. He had 58 pass attempts in that overtime win. And meanwhile, Bijan had how many carries? 12 carries. That's not going to cut it down the road. That will cut it for this week, but not for down the road. Zach Moss didn't do nothing. Olave got shut down against Kansas City. I didn't know he only had 2 catches. It's crazy. Deontay Johnson got nicked up. Kyle Pitts there was a lot of Falcons offense in this matchup. Kyle Pitts got off, but he didn't get in the end zone, so he only got 12, which is really good for him. Mac Wilson gave you 20, 31.5 from Sam Hubbard, 3 sacks, I believe. Oh, no, he had that safety. That's what it is. I'm thinking about somebody else. Derek Hall had 3 sacks. And Trayvon Walker. But Sam Hubbard had a safety, 7 solo tackles. That gave him that 31.5. You had some good performances on your defense, especially. This is unacceptable. Bye week. Just left them in there. Unacceptable. Rayshawn Jenkins, Grant Delpit all played well. Your kicker played well. Your D tackle played well. But then you left all that stuff. I just don't understand, man. I don't get it. And you got 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy, and you just sitting on them. So I'm guessing he quit as well. This will get addressed for sure. Speaking of potential quitters, let's see if I found another one. I almost said it. Kevin Knoff, aka that, which you see right here, versus M6, aka Marcos Camacho. Marcos got the win. He's hopping out of the relegation race. He's like, hey, I want to compete. I definitely traded him some juice, so he should be competing. And that score suggests that he is doing something with the juice. 262.4 to 183.56. Good score from Baker Mayfield, who's been a very, very consistent quarterback in real life, leading into his fantasy success, being number 3 overall. 29.4 points with 3 touchdowns. Not a lot of yardage, but wasn't needed for the team that's assembled around him. Mike Evans did a lot of the dirty work with 2 of those touchdowns, 5 catches, 62 yards, 20.7 points. Ayuk looked like the Ayuk that earned his contract over the offseason, 20.7 points. And yeah, Rashad Bateman popped out and added his 13.8, his best game of the season on catches, yards, and having a touchdown. Cashman only 11 points. He got a goose egg from Musal. You should have seen that coming. Wondering why you had him in the lineup. All the bye weeks. All the bye weeks. Got you. Ernest Jones, Zach Bond. Okay, cool. And Hutchinson and Ridley on the bench, and you still got a 260. Very impressive. Younghoe Koo, 18 points. He had a great game. 14 from J.C. Horn, who's quietly becoming one of the best corners in the league. He's just on the wrong team. Christian Gonzalez, 20 points. Xavier McKinney, 15. Really, really good scores. Really, really good scores. I think McKinney had 2 picks. Oh, he had 1 pick. He had a really good game. Stafford was just throwing it up in that game. Christian Gonzalez, speaking of unsung corners, he's also on the wrong team to really display his talent. He had a pick too. Not gonna speak on Kevin's team because at this point, if you're not fully competing, you're just taking time out of these videos. So we're gonna move on to the next matchup. Barrio Quintito versus Kenneth Walker. Quentin Gibbs versus CJ Griffith, respectively. Big win, solid win to stay undefeated for CJ Griffith. 249 to 208.16. Kenneth Walker has a solidly constructed roster with Kyler Murray leading the way. 30.1 points, 2 total touchdowns. He looks like the Kyler that we were accustomed to seeing before the Kingsbury era and after and before the ACL. He's getting back to himself, running and throwing the ball. Good scores from Kenneth Walker the third. Justin Jefferson, down game, still managed to get almost 250. Jake Ferguson, 12. Darius Slayton popped out 24.2 points, filling in for Malik Neighbors. It's like, okay, why weren't you doing this the whole time Saquon was there? Why weren't you doing this the whole time? Like, why weren't you doing this the past couple years as the number 1 receiver? I don't know. I don't know what it was about going against Seattle's defense, but all of a sudden you want to, turn into the top 20 receiver, top 15 receiver. I don't know. But kudos to you. Kaiser White, 12, 17 from Pratt, who did Jermaine Pratt things. 20 from Fitzpatrick, who's finally starting to play like himself. McCollum, Witherspoon both got off, especially McCollum with 21.5 points. Number 10 corner. Okay. 2 20-point performances. Impressive. Antonio Johnson filling in for, I can't remember his name, safety. 19.5 points. Really, really good scores from relatively few guys, but you had a couple duds in there that you were able to compensate for. And Quentin was not doing enough until this trade. Thank you very much for this guy and CeeDee Lamb. Even though he only had 8.9 points this week, I'm expecting him to have more of these kind of weeks, the 20-point games. I feel it coming in the air tonight. Shout out to Phil Collins. In the meantime, not enough support this week. You had Michael Pittman Jr. give you 12.2 points. Went out with an injury. I'm not sure if he's still hurt. Oh, it looks like he's doubtful. Oh, I did not see this before the trade. Dang. Oh, IR is a possibility. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. Woo. Dang. And Adonai Mitchell and Doolin Candace. Okay. Good to know. Good to know, not good to read. Didn't know that about the receivers. But this is why the trade actually helps you, because I gave you Juju and I gave you Ladd McConkey, both starters and good offenses. They'll help fill in those gaps for CD and Pittman. Not saying they're going to replace it, but they'll fill in along with the other help that I gave you. So good luck to you, bro. It's onward and upward from this week. Brian Robinson gave you 13.8. Zay Flowers, 17.5. You had good performances. JOK is going to be JOK, 26 points. Your other linebackers, double digits. Sternad is a good pickup for whoever was able to get him. I got him in 2 leagues after Alex Singleton got hurt. And then you had a Landon Roberts down there with 12. Not much else from your defense, so hopefully I help boost your defense with your linebacking core to go with your offense. And, yeah, you'll be able to compete a little bit more. Nakua should be coming back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. You got Brian Branch coming off a bye. Dallas Goedert coming off a bye. You got a squad. And you got Hawkinson in the IR. You can compete, bro. You should be able to compete. 2 and 3 is not going to be how you finish the way that you started. I think you're going to finish better than you started, especially with some of these other scrubs that have abandoned their teams. Let's get to the next matchup. on the left side. Left side. True Assassins 286.9 to 249.82. Good win against the Chicago Windies for Janine, defeating her friend David Wilson, D. Will. Very, very solid win. Great score with the 280. Derek Carr ended up going out at the end of the game with an injury, but 17.6 was sufficient for this team. He did what he needed to do, and I know she's got backup at quarterback down here, Jared Goff, who happened to be on bye. So although it's bad to have an injury, it's good timing. Javonte Williams, 13.6, 29.7 from Brian Thomas, 27.8 from Tucker Kraft. Both had their breakout games. I think Kraft had one before. He had a good game, but not a great game. The 2 touchdowns, especially with that highlight run down the sideline and the stiff arm to get in there looking like Gronk. And then Brian Thomas looks like he's past Christian Kirk. That's what I believe. With the targets and with the production, much more of an explosive receiver than Kirk ever has been, even though Kirk is fairly explosive. He's really good. It's not to diminish him, but Thomas is on another level. And the throwbacks, it sucks that they're being considered throwbacks. I just feel old saying that. But, man, them jerseys are hard. I love them. JSN didn't do much, but not necessary. His potential down the stretch is still very high. I wonder when they're going to phase Lockett out, but as long as Lockett is playing well, I can't be mad having 3 receivers play well at the same time. Zaire Franklin, KJ Britt, Devin Bush off the wire. Look, don't ever talk about you need something else. You don't need, you want at this point. You're just being greedy. Jaquan Brisker, hopefully he comes back sooner than later from the concussion that he got. He got 14 from Terrell Bernard. Aziz Al-Shahir, your roster's stacked. It's just unfair. It's unfair. It's going to be an unfair roster. It's going to be a tough one to deal with. You got Nate Landman down here hiding in the IR. So you're going to have to get rid of a linebacker at some point. If they are performing like that, probably Devin Bush, because he's not going to remain a starter. But yeah, great performance over there. For D. Will, Trevor Lawrence boomed for you. Rashid Shaheed boomed for you on a couple of catches. Not much else from the offense. Keon Coleman only had the 1 catch for a touchdown. DeAndre Swift up here, I missed him, 19 points. He's finally starting to look like DeAndre Swift in Chicago. Levante David, 23. Overshown, 17. Great scores from your D-line outside of Montez Sweat. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Going to be tough replacing Christian Wilkins for sure. They don't want to say he's out for the season, but it's not looking good with that foot. He just had surgery today. Dexter Lawrence, 18 points with 3 sacks. I missed that in the other recap, in the rap recap. Dang. Sheesh. Well, that would explain why the Seahawks were struggling. They had pressure like that. Okay. Great defense from the Giants. What seems like that made the difference, even though they got 29 points. Harrison Smith, 15 with a sack. I think he was the first one to reach some statistic that only Brian Dawkins and Rod Woodson accomplished. Some special category and territory that he's in now between interceptions, sacks, and tackles. He's been doing it a long time. He's been doing it at a high level. Quietly, number 15 in fantasy. I didn't know he was playing that well, but he's always been under the radar. Good every year when he's healthy. Kevin Byard, the third, 17 points. I thought at some point he would get his job took from Jonathan Owens. I thought he was just kind of like a veteran stand-in, but he was playing well last year, so it makes sense when he was in Tennessee to get over to Chicago, do the same thing. Kyler Gordon is finally starting to get a little more consistent, and he gets nicked up with a heel injury. 2 13-point games in a row. Good squad over here for the Windies. Third in the division, which is only because the division is so tough. Second in the division is 4-1 with Janine. So that's going to be a good division coming down the stretch, and I'll review that in a moment. Negus in Paradise, best score of the season, in any league that I've seen. We're in 4 different leagues together. Juan Redmond got the win, 291 to 237.34 against the Kava Kava Cool Cats. Much like my rap recap for those who are in rap. Upset of the week. Not expected. It looks like Black Rob is having a down season by the record. Both of them now 2-3 after this matchup. Juan was fully prepared, or fully looking like he was going to be 1-4, while Black Rob would be 3-2. But that's how the cookie crumbles. 29.56 from Caleb Williams, who Juan has banked on in many leagues. Some not upstart, but upside offensive players, and then heavy on defense. It panned out for him this week, as the offensive players he banked on upside with boomed. 10.3 points from Michael Wilson, and Lazard got 13.4. Bowers, 57-yard touchdown for the Raiders to push him towards 26.7 points. And then the defense, man. Look, Okereke didn't do nothing, but Roquan, 26.5. Fred Warner, 19. 18 from Cameron Bynum. Buda Baker, 21. 24 from Frankie Louvu. Jamel Dean, 20. That'll get you that score every time. Offense, do enough. Do just enough. Maybe have 1 or 2 guys boom. Number 1 tight end. That's right. Go Raiders. 1 or 2 guys boom on the offense, and then everybody else on the defense, just be consistent. The strategy can work. How viable it is for a championship is yet to be seen. That strategy has not won a championship yet. But it finally ended up helping Juan get out of the relegation race temporarily in Ray, or the removal race, and get an upset victory over a perennial division winner and playoff contender in Black Rob. Rob had Josh Allen have a down week, 17.64 points. For him, that's just not going to cut it. He needs to be hanging out around 25 points a week for where he's drafted. But the rest of the team didn't help out much. It's not like the score is bad. A 237 is a really good score. It just wasn't going to work this week. It didn't matter what happened different. Had a tight end and a flex guy pretty much not show up for him. Jaden Reed was okay. Josh Jacobs and James Cook, both 15-plus points. Solid run back play. Linebackers, really, really good scores. 20 from Eric Kendricks. Almost averaging 15 between the 3 of them. But that was it. Then Jerome Baker, Deshaun Elliott, they did what they were supposed to do. So the defensive performances, Metellus didn't show up. Owe was relatively quiet. Even though he hasn't really done much all season outside of 1 week. Just some clear holes on the roster that need to be filled. It doesn't look like bye weeks was the issue outside of Jameson Williams. It was really just, it's more so, there's some work to be done. Some trades can be made. Probably not going to happen because of who the owner is. But I just don't see Rob finishing bad. Something's going to pop off. Something's going to change and help boost the roster, whether it's on the wire or he actually does end up pulling a trade off. Going to the final 2 games, or the final game. I think this is the final game. I covered all, right? Yeah, final game. 4 Verts, a.k.a. James Hale, going up against the Wyatt 6, a.k.a. Cortez Jackson, a.k.a. Tezo 3 times. The Wyatt 6 took the upset. I said that the biggest upset was Juan against Black Rob. In hindsight, I didn't realize both of them were under 500 prior to that matchup. This one, both owners 2-2, or Cortez was 3-1, and James Hale was 2-2. James Hale was performing very well to get above 500. 3rd place in that legacy division that I mentioned. But it's only because that division and what's the other one? The Legion of Terror division both have very, very good competition. He got the upset victory 20-50 to 20-30 against Cortez. T. Higgins, George Kittle went off for him. 20 points for each of them. 13 points from Wan'Dale Robinson. Collective receiver room effort for the Giants to fill in for Neighbors, which is impressive. Xavier Worthy had an end-around touchdown. Didn't really do much in the receiving game, but 10 points helps right there. 26 points from Trevin Wallace. I wanted to pick him up in one of the leagues once I knew that Shaq Thompson went down. Too expensive in the leagues with Fab, and I was too low on the waiver order for the leagues without. So kudos to everybody that was able to get him. I was shaky on him just from what I seen on film. He seemed a little slow, unsure. Maybe it's because he was playing out of position, more on the weak side as opposed to the middle. But I would be interested in seeing the film and seeing how he got these 15 tackles that he got. I think, 10 solo, 5 assisted. So he looked like he was all over the field. Didn't help them win the game, but definitely helped James win this matchup. That was a key pickup for him. Let's see. That was it. For the most part, Chase McLaughlin gave you a surprising 16 points. Trevon Merrick, I was big on him. I wanted to get him in every league, but it's a little too late and too patient trying to size it up, getting him off the wire. 14.5 points helps you out. He's showing why he was drafted high for the Raiders. So you had really good score coming from 4 guys, essentially, whereas everybody else just did their job. And Tez, not a bad score. Running backs, one of the running backs did not show up well in Bucky Irvin, but he's not a full-time starter yet. The rest of the offense showed up pretty good. Double digits from everybody. 19.8 from Nico before he went out with injury. EJ Speed gave you 14. You had Trey Sermon give you that quiet 15.3 in the flex, filling in for Jonathan Taylor. But then your linebackers let you down. Devin Lloyd looks like he got hurt. Troy Reader, only 6 points. Nothing from Daniil Hunter, which I'm struggling with in 2 other leagues. Keon White, looks like he's going to be hit or miss. Playing at 3-4 defensive end. He's not going to be as consistent as what his talent should allow. But I know he's probably just more disruptive on the edge in like the run game, and may get the occasional unfair matchup for sacks. Dorian Williams, 26. And that's pretty much it. Your safeties, your DBs all gave you double digits. But just not enough boom from enough guys to help you keep up. Looking here, too, at your kickers' performance, -1 versus 16. That's a 17-point difference. That would have kept the game close, too. So not saying kicking 16 points that's unusual, unusually good. That's not something that can happen every week. But yeah, this is a bad matchup, bad performances from key guys that are having down weeks. So we'll see how that pans out down the stretch. 2 3-2 teams, and we'll see how the standings look here. The rec division, Tez is unmatched after the upset loss for Black Rob. Even though he took the loss, both of them remain a game apart. Juan put himself back in the conversation for division leader, being tied with Black Rob at 2-3. You got the Kenneth Walker, the Legion of Terror division with Kenneth Walker still undefeated. True Assassins, Chicago Wendy's all above 500. A 5-4 game win streak in that division, which is highly impressive between those two owners. Then you've got the Legacy division, which I'm in. I was formerly undefeated. Took my first loss to Harrison, who took his win back to the Kingdom. But Legacy is still one of the better divisions with 3 owners all above 500 as well, distributed differently. And finally, the Kingdom, you got Harrison at 3-2, with a couple guys that are question marks at the bottom there. So, it's getting interesting. Some folks are starting to distance themselves as the top dogs. Some folks are firmly in the middle, and then some folks have clearly given up. We're going to see how it goes the rest of these weeks. Appreciate you if you watch this entire recap right at 40 minutes. We are going to cut and trim and fight and claw to get this thing down to 30. How to just talk about the necessary things and leave out the unimportant things. If you like this, like it, comment, share it if you feel like it's worthwhile. I don't know. Maybe you might want to share it with your friends. Like, hey, look what my commissioner did or what our league does, how we do it. This is how we do. I appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, etc., DM me on Discord or shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger. If you have any personal conversations you want to have, call me or text me. And I hope y'all have a good week 6. I will holler at y'all next week with the Ray review for that week. Good luck to you. Peace.